Creating your book cover in Affinity Publisher. Walk into any bookshop and you'll notice that each genre of fiction has its own general style for cover designs. Though each cover is different, elements on the cover create a sort of code that enables the reader to assess what the book will be about. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to design a book cover for the crime thriller fiction genre and explore how you can create a genre-appropriate design using typefaces, tools and tips available to you in Affinity Publisher. Let's get creating a cover Stephen King would be proud of. The first steps are to set up the layout of your cover in Publisher, and in this set of classes we'll be creating a cover for a paperback or softcover book with B format dimensions, 5.06 by 7.81 inches or 130 by 198 millimeters, and a 16 millimeter spine. Note, you can adjust the width of the spine to suit your own purposes by using the spread properties to adjust the width of the document later. Step 1. Open Publisher and select New Document from the Welcome window. Just waiting a moment while Publisher comes up. And there's our welcome window. You can open your document from there or go to File and New Documents, but it's up here anyway, so we'll open it here. In the New Document window, set the type to print. There we go, that's print from all of those. And number of pages to 1. Number of pages, 1. And uncheck facing pages. We don't want facing pages because there's only one. From the Page Preset drop-down menu, select Custom. That's Page Preset. Select Custom at the top. Set the width to 130. 130. And the height to 198. 198. Just put my cursor back there so it holds it. Go to the little paper stack icon to the right of Page Preset. See that little stack of paper there? And select Create Preset. Type B format paperback, so that we've got a preset in there. Now just watch that the things don't change in the settings. 130, 198, B format paperback. Your type is now presets and it's a B format paperback. But into the name, click up. When you're finished setting up, your preset will be saved and you can open a new document and apply the presets easily. This is the industry standard print size for a paperback, B format paperback. But do not press OK yet to create the page. There's more work to do. In the new document window, set the margins to 8 millimeters on all sides. Where's our margins? There. Now, a little bit of work here. 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters. Now you can click OK there. Oops, sorry, no you can't. And set the bleed to 3 millimeters. Bleed 3 millimeters, 3 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and 3 millimeters. OK. Now you can click OK. If you clicked OK before, that's OK. Just exit that page, don't save it, and start again. And there's our page. And you can see faintly around it, you can see the bleed margin around there. Paper size, and there you go. This page is the correct size for the front of your cover only. Though we will want to submit a whole cover to the printer complete with spine and back cover, it's a really good idea to design your front cover only at first. This allows you to judge better how the cover will look from a reader's perspective. when the book is on display in the bookshop. We'll use the Spread Properties tools later in the tutorial to include the spine and back cover on the document, but for now let's work on the front cover alone as it is. From the left hand ruler, you'll see the margin is up at 0 there. From the left hand margin, just hold your key down and drag your margin out to 65, and you'll see it hesitates there and says 65mm. See just above the red arrow, 65mm, that's the center of your page. Release the key. This marks the center point of the front cover, which is helpful when you start to place elements on the page. Okay, that's the end of step 1. Okay, lesson 2. Here we are in lesson 2. We're going to start now by adding a layer to add our image. So we add a layer by clicking on Layer and New Layer, or we can go across here to the right, just clicking there to get rid of that menu, and there's New Layer there, and it says Add a Layer. You can see that in the bottom right hand corner. So I'll just add that new layer. You can see that appear there. Double click on that and it brings that up so you can edit it. And I'll call that Image. Press enter. You don't press OK, of course there's no OK, you press enter. Now select the rectangle tool, which is that one, and drag to create an image frame 58mm in width that goes from about there, extends across the page, meeting the edge of the bleed at the top, bottom and right hand sides. Now there's the bleed up there, just where I am there. And if that page would stop moving. So I'll hold the mouse down, take it down to the bottom bleed. There it is, the red line showing. 204. Drag it out to 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. Now let's move that up. That's moved up off the bleed. So just take that there, take it down to the bleed line. Up to the top, that's on the bleed line there, but there is not. So what we need to do is move the whole thing. Now we can go up here, select the pointer, because it's already 58mm wide. Just select it and move it along the red line so it pops out onto the bleed there. We know it's in the right place, it's 58mm wide and sitting on the bleed. Now we need to put an image in there, and the image we want, you can see we've got a picture frame there over in the layers, right hand side, picture frame. Now I need to place the image in there, and I've got the image stored on the disk. Of course you need to have your images prepared, otherwise you can spend hours looking for images. So let's go up here, File and Place. We're going to place an image into that frame. Now my images are in this image folder, and there's lots of images in there, but the snow scene, which is the one I want, that comes from unsplash.com. Fantastic place for getting images. So select that and open it. Go over there and it's in place. Just takes a fraction of a second. Now you'll note if you've already looked at the image in Unsplash or looked at image in Photos, it's a slightly bigger image than that, but that's just enough. That fits perfectly within our frame. You don't want to change it. You can have a look in Properties and you can see that Scale to Max Fit, Scale to Min Fit, stretch to fit and none, but we want that one, so just cancel that and leave that as it is. With the frame selected, that's the frame there that we want. With that one selected, go to Layer Effects. Layer Effects. Gradient Overlay. Keep the type as linear. There's the type there, we want that linear. And the angle to 180 degrees. There we go. Just couldn't find it for a minute. My little green pointer was in the way. There we go, 180 degrees. And you can see that it's slightly grayer out there. Maneuver the gradient stops into place that you can see there. We want opacity set to around 27. Now it's quite grey in there, which is the actual overlay, the gradient overlay, and I haven't changed that at the moment. I like the grey. It's a really snowy scene. It sets the dark tone of a killer show. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there as it is. You can lighten it a little bit. The fill opacity, if you click on there, you've got a slider, and you can see if you can lighten that up a little bit and take it into a really bleak, but it's barely there as an image. At 100%, I rather like it because it does provide a slight gradient. You can probably reduce it a little bit more, and it's only 13, not quite so dark, but I like the 27%. It's just dark enough to be interesting. Okay, now close that because you don't want to do any more with that. Now you go over here and you highlight the image layer. You can select right click on that and select duplicate, and it creates a second one just there. Now with that selected, you should be able to just drag that duplicate across to the left hand side, keeping it within the bleed borders on the left. There we go. And you can see it's equidistant from the center line, but it's facing the same way. Now we don't really want that. Right click in there, go to transform and flip horizontal, and there it is. You can see it's put on the left hand side and the right hand side, so it's mirroring the right hand side. Grab the left edge of the new frame and drag it so that it meets the trim edge. That's that there. Because you don't need it to meet the bleed edge of that page, as that's where the spine will sit. drag the center edges of each image so that they meet on the center line, and that's the center line there. So we'll drag that out there, meets on the center line. Select this image and drag it out to the center line there. Now we have a mirror image on there. Now if you look carefully at this, you can see the left edge is on the trim, not the bleed. Both images, left and right, meet on the center guideline. Even though we have a gradient effect already applied to the images, any typography we apply to the cover will still likely get lost amongst the high contrast of the dark branches and white snow. So in this lesson we'll solve that problem. Return to the Layers panel and lock the image layers. Click that one, click on the lock, click that one, click on the lock. Click the Create New Layer at the bottom right of the panel. There's our new layer. Let's move that up there. Click the default layer name and rename it Front Cover Artwork. There we go, Front Cover Artwork. Press Enter. And there we have that. Select the ellipse tool the picture frame ellipse tool, and holding the shift key down, drag and create a perfect circle about 113 mm in diameter. So we're obviously going to click that over there, create that over there. So hold the shift key down. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Picture frame ellipse tool. Okay. There we go, 113. It's very easy to select the wrong tool from these because they are actually quite small. Bring that out to 113. It doesn't matter if it's over the boundary at the moment. We'll drag it back to where it's got to be in a moment. 113, and there we go. Select the pointer and position this centrally on the page using the guide as a reference position to the top of the circle at position Y, position 42. You can see on the left hand side there on the rulers there's position 42. Okay, except that it's not in the center of the circle. Now it is, because you've got the various lines showing up there, and that line there is on 42, just over there. There we go. Set the fill colour to white. There's our fill. Colour wheel. CMK sliders. RGB sliders. You can take your pick, whichever one you want. Let's stick with CMK. Look at all those colours there. Amazing. Now if you want perfect white, just take all those sliders back to there and you've got perfect white. Do we want perfect white? Okay. It's not quite paper white, is it? Paper white is about that. Maybe a little less yellow depending on the colour of your paper. There we go. Gives it a tiny little bit of contrast against the back. Okay. With the circle shape selected, which it is there, you can see, select Transparency tool, that's the wine glass. Just select that. Now up the top you can see the type just there, top left hand corner, and set it to radial. Now you click on the white ellipse and it brings out the gradient stops, brings them into position, put them in position as shown so the gradient appears very soft. You can see that little center line there. Now just check that all your settings, radial, midpoint 50% at the moment, opacity 100, insert, copy and reverse are all there. Now the midpoint, do we want it at 50%? You can see on the image it's gone out to 92, about 81 I think, and that's the same as that little line there. You move that or you can move that. Adjust it to suit your image, because you might have a different image than I've got there, and that's fine. Select the circle shape. Okay, we'll come back here. You can just click there now because that's got a slight bit of feathering in there. Go back up there so you're not actually inadvertently using the wrong tool. See that over there on the right hand side, front cover artwork, I've selected that, and there is some faint radial feathering there, which is what you want. Now we've got that circle, front cover artwork, we've got that selected. Now go edit, copy, edit, paste. And you can see it's put another circle there. Now hold down shift and resize the circle. See, it's resizing the top circle to 44. And you can see the numbers there. 46, 45, 44. There we go. Ah, what did I let go of incorrectly there? So that's 44, that's 44. So that's a 44mm circle. And it's the same as that one. It's the same as the original. And you can see it's feathered around the inside. Position the second shape at the top right corner of the page as shown. We'll be layering a tagline over this a little bit later, and I've coloured the circles in the text document so that you can see them a little clearer. But here we don't need to because they're quite clear. Okay, let's introduce some thriller typography. So step 1, go to the Layers panel and select and lock the front cover artwork layer. So there's our front cover artwork layer, and we want to select that one. Just click on it so it's highlight, and then lock it, and you can see the little lock appears there. Select the Add Layer icon and rename that new layer to Typography. There's our new layer icon down the bottom there. Add a layer, and you'll see it adds a layer above it. Just click on the word Layer 1 and it changes it so you can edit it. Typography. Typography. Press the Enter key. Easy. Now, we want to introduce 3 parts to the front cover text: the title, the author name, and a tagline. Let's work on the title first. First up, let's select the typeface that's going to work well on our winter thriller cover. Look for something that looks dramatic when set in all caps. A strong sans serif will grab the reader's attention, and here I'll select Futura. Select the Artistic Text tool. So just select that, and you can see up the top here is your text, or the typeface that you want. So let's go and set that to Futura. Lots and lots of A, B, C, D, E, F. Of course you can just type it in, F-U-T, and there you go. There are different options there. Futura Book Italic, Condensed Medium. Now, as it happens, I want to use condensed medium later on. Now let's see what this one is. Medium Italic, medium bold. No, just a plain Futura is the one we want. So I'll set that to that. Futura. It's condensed. No, I just want medium here. Size 40 point. 12's a bit small. So let's go find 40. There's 48. 36. Never mind. Let's just type in 40. That's the one we want. And just click outside. Oops. No, sorry, we don't want that. We want that. It's the one we're working on. Futura, medium, and it's set to 40 point. Delete 0. Medium, 50 point. That's really difficult to set there. Why is that moving, I wonder? It's the nearest. Let's see what the nearest one is. 36 is pretty close to 40. That'll do. Let's not argue with it. Set the tracking to -60. Now we've got to find our character thing, which is over here on the right hand side. Character to -60. Tracking, you see, is that one there. And it's -50. We want -60. And set the text to all caps. That's that one there. We've got to get out of there first. Futura, medium, 36 point. So we can't set it to all caps yet, which is that one, because we haven't typed anything. Now that makes sense. Now we've still got that selected. There's 50 -60. So that's the top left of our circle. You can see the little bar moving up and down there. Just inside the circle, -60. And you can see the number there. Let's go out to, whoops, 45, 43, 42, 41, 36. Well, we've got 36 up the top, so let's leave it at that. Okay, and we type in the word THE. Oh, wrong colour. We don't want that. Doesn't really matter at this stage because we're going to change it, but it's quite easy to see. Change it, and there's your CMYK selection. That's our swatches panel, obviously. Now we can change that now, we may as well, to C19, C19, M98, hear that phone of mine ticking away in the background, 93, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Now, what's the other colours? Y89 and K10. Y is 89 and K is 10. Swatch has now got to go and do it all again because I haven't created a new swatch colour. C19, M98, Y89 and K10. And there we go. Okay. And you can see it's changed the text. Change the colour of the text. Now we want to change that to all caps. So we should be able to change that now. And you can see down here that that typography, all caps, is now available. And you just click on that and it changes it to all caps. Very nice. And there we have the new swatch colour. Okay, and the word "the." Okay, next stage. Create a second larger text with the artistic tool. Set the font to Futura again, but this time we want 86 point and set the text to all caps again. Artistic text tool. You can see it starts to change a little bit when it's in line with the one above it. This one we want 86. So let's have a look up here, see if we can get 86. '72. No, we've still got the other one selected. Go back, undo font size. Of course we don't want that. So click out of there so that's no longer selected. Go back to layers and you can see the word "the" is there. Artistic text tool. Click on that. Go down to there. And we want size 86. '85. '86. WINTER. Doesn't matter if you type it all in lowercase because you're going to change that any moment. Set it to all caps at size 86. The colour's still selected. Go to character, all caps. Just go back over here to the left hand side, select your pointer, see it's over there, left hand side, select pointer and align it there. Grab the wrong thing. Now we want it inside that circle, don't we? So that's central in that circle, which may or may not be where I want it at the moment, but just pause for that. Now with the text highlighted, which it is, go to Layers, Artistic Text Tool, the text is highlighted, go to Layer and Convert to Curves, which is right there. Convert to Curves, and so you have it. It's now converted to curves. So the next step, with the text highlighted, set the colour to no colour. No colour. And it should become transparent. Of course, okay. Go back to Layers, there's all our WINTER, just taking me a moment to find all those. They're all highlight. Now we can go to Layer, oops, sorry, back to Colour and set to no colour. See, they've disappeared. Sorry if that took a little bit of time. Let's step back through that, shall we? You've got Undo Set Fill, which is, undo is Command Z. There's the colour back. And you can see things over here changing as I step back through it. All the little strange things I did. We're back to Edit, Undo All Caps. No, we want to leave all caps in there. We want to move that back over, so select that. I want to move that back into its central position. You'll note we step back in time there a bit. So there we go, nicely in the center. Dot, dot, left hand side, left hand side. The word winter. Now we want to select that and convert it to curves, and you know what will happen then, right? Convert to curves. That's converted to curves. In that layer there, it's now grouped, and there's all our curves. Now we want to convert those to picture frames so we can put a picture in them. So you go down, select all of those, WINTER, go across to Layer and Convert to Picture Frame. Go up here and select that. See the little no colour there? Just select no colour. The words winter disappears, and in the right hand side they all go blank. The words are still there though. So with all layers selected, go to Top Navigator and Layer and Convert to Picture Frame. Oh, that was exhausting. Okay, next step in this lesson, with all layers converted to picture frame and keeping them all selected, which they are, go to File, Place, and find the file you want to use as the background of the text. In this case, I'm using an image of skulls. Select the image you're going to use and it will place itself into the text. So we go to File and Place. Just let me get in there. There's Images. Now, somewhere down here, we don't want the snowflake seen. Somewhere in this list of images, Skulls Background. There we go. You select that and click Open. And there you go. It's placed itself nicely, and you can see it in the background of those letters. Now, you can select any of those letters, as I did with this one, and drag it down slightly. That's all I did in the original. Back to the pointer to make sure you're not going to disturb anything, and just leave that there for the moment. Okay, that's the end of this lesson. Okay, step 4. Create a third text frame using the type tool about 100 mm in width and 35 mm in height. Mm in width. Well, we're probably going to use the whole width, so it's about 100 mm. That's 111, and about 35 mm in height. 33, 35. There we go. Type killer into the frame. And you can see that's hardly the biggest text you've ever seen. However, what we've got to do with that is set the font to 115 point. There's 96 for a start. 115. It's regular font, but we want Futura medium. Futura. Let's spell this right. Futura medium. There we go. Tracking to -40. Now tracking's character. Baseline. There's tracking. -40. So the tracking's -40 and the text is in all caps. There's our all caps there. Set the font color. Well, we've set the font color to our red already because that's in swatches. I put it in swatches earlier on and it's that color there. Let's show you. 19, 98, 89 and 10. 19, 98, 89 and 10. So there's our killer text. As a final touch, select this text frame and go to Effects and drop Shadow. There's Effects. Now, drop shadow colour's usually dark anyway. Opacity 50%. See, there's our text, but it won't show yet because we've got it 0 offset. See, if I drag it right out, you can easily see the offset, but we only want a minor offset. So probably, I said 3 originally, but 3 is probably a bit small. You only want the faintest offset. So there's 7.3. Don't worry about the radius. I'll show you what the radius does. Radius. You can see it puts right 100% radius, just spreads it right out. So we don't want to worry about the radius. You've got a small offset there now. You can just see it just faintly around the edges of the letters. The angle's 315, so it's just angling down that way. See that angle there? It's just angling the shadow that way. Now that's just what you want. The winter killer. Now step 5, select the killer text frame you've just created. That's that one. And go to edit, copy, and then edit, paste. And you think, what's that done? Aha. But what it's done is put an exact copy over the top of the original. So we can now adjust the font weight to light condensed. There's condensed medium. We don't have a light condensed on here. Set the size to 70 point. There's 72, which is pretty close. And then the tracking to 90. Back over to character. Tracking 90. Leave that at auto. And you might think, well, this is really hopeless because that's over the top of killer, but you just drag it down to where you want it. There you go. Now it's not quite where you want it yet. Adjust the text to Jack Vicious. Okay, well I've got Jack Vicious in this case. Let's get back on there. Put that in there. Jackvicious. Oh, and it's wrapped around. So what we've got to do is take that out a little bit wider and make the text a little bit smaller. Select the text, 72 point, and you can see it's just scrolling up and down. Now we want the text, we don't want it 72, do you want 48's probably okay, and big spelling mistake, V-I-C-I-O-U-S, Jack Vicious. So we can bring that back in to there. We can bring the bottom up to there. However, if you leave that out there like that, so that it's the exact width of your page border, you can then do something neat, which is go up here to paragraph and center the text. Now we want to center this a bit lower, so I would say Y position 167. So 167 is over here. So we want to be able to move that pull that down so the top line, and you can see it over the side there. Five, 6, 7. There's 167. Well, it's very hard to read on this monitor, but that's 167. Go to Objects and Effects. Objects and Effects. Now, do we want to put a shadow on that? Yes, we've got a shadow on that. Increase the opacity to 65. 65. And the size to 5mm. Well, yeah, so let's go back to about 5mm pixel. Now Jack Vicious is in red, but we don't want that in red. What we want that is font color white. Sorry, you just lost me there for a moment. go to swatches, font color, white, and you can now see Jack Vicious has changed to font color white. So we're getting there. Let's save that so that we know where we are. We just save that. Now what we've got to do is create a tagline for the front cover by selecting the type tool again and creating a text frame about 80mm in width and 17mm in height. So we'll put that up here. That's very big. And about 17 in height. Now I'm going to have to obviously drag that back onto the thing here so we can see it. Because this is where our tagline's going to go. Now I don't want it anywhere near that width. This is possibly a result of this being so large to start with. Let's bring that in a little bit so it's at least within the boundaries. Position this frame in the top right corner of the page, which is where we are, and adjust the size as needed. So I'll start off with very small text in here, but don't want it condensed, I want it medium. In here we'll type an isolated cabin. But before I do that, go back there, untick capitals. We don't want it in capitals. We don't want the tracking at 90. We want it to start at 0. If you don't reset these things, they stay where you left them. I don't think there's anything else. We've got 16-point Futura characters, and the text body there is white. We want black. If you don't make the text black, you won't see it when you type it in here. Now we're ready to go and type in some text, I think. Let's see. And isolated cabin in the woods. Okay. Now you can see the text is misspelt, but the text is too big for that section. And the other thing we want this to be, all of this text in this box, is to be right aligned. This is something else. Remember in paragraph we were trying to set everything back to normal. We want it right aligned. You can see that's gone over there. But the text is still too big. So really what we want is a smaller character set. 16, and you can see it changing as we go up and down. And of course we want it all the right size. Now there we go, and we've left, so set it all to 16. Sorry, I'm making a hash of this. There's the S. An isolated cabin in the woods. Scroll up there. The "and" is not quite halfway, and the woods word is on the right hand side. So that's 11 point. 12 point makes it readable, because you want to be able to read this on a bookshelf. How are we going? Have we got there? Now we want a paragraph break in here. So you can press enter. A family seeking reclusion. And the last line, a killer on the loose. well, we can't see it, can we? So we've got to get hold of that and drag it down to there. Now there's a reason why all this is that spread out like that, and that's over here. Leading override. And you can see they're changing. Bring your leading override back to, see if it's 12 point and your font is 12 point, you've got single line spacing. I think we'll leave that at that for the moment. And I say Cabin in the Woods, a family seeking reclusion, and a killer on the loose. But we want to keep that in fitting with the rest of the document, so we'll make that red. We want to bump it over to the right a bit so it's not on the edge of the page in the bleed line as it was. And of course you can adjust that to fit in your circle, because the circle we've got there really is quite at the edge of the page. Let's go back to layers. There's the front cover artwork and the images. Let's see if we can select the circle, because what we wanted to do was move that circle over, and we can do that later. See, there it is there, picture frame. There we go. Now that circle is obviously too small for that text, but what it does do is give you a bit of clear space behind the text on the main body of the page. Close that layer again. Close the typography layer. So we've got the font colour black there, except for the font colour there, which is our CMYK. Normally I'd have that font there about 15 point, but we can't do it. So we've got that selected. Let's have a look at our characters. Leading, baseline, tracking, kerning. Leading is, the leading according to my instructions are 18 point, but it's probably too far apart. But as I'm saying, now's the time to make any minor adjustments to the layout until you're happy with the outcome. Once you're happy, you can start putting together the rest of the cover. This is your finished front cover. This is suitable for export as a PNG file to use as your front cover for your ebook version, Kindle, iBooks, Kobo, and etc. You may need to adjust those spaces there a little bit. You may need to adjust the size of that. Depends whether you want the author title to stand out, and so on. But that's not looking too bad. Now, I won't export this document because you won't be able to see it from there, and export is quite simply that. You go to File and Export. Let's hold it there. We'll save that document, because the next steps are creating the spine and the back cover, and that in itself is quite a long process. So we'll hold here and start the next lesson with the spine and back covers.